Let's learn how to convert any JPEG to PNG in Photoshop in this simple tutorial. So if you file open your JPEG in Photoshop, you should have a flat image, as you can see here with my sample_dog JPEG. So first things first, just double check that your color mode is RGB color, and if it's not, switch it. And from there, you can go to File and Save As, or save a copy and then save it as PNG, but I am more of an advocate of export as PNG. I think the export panel gives you more options. So File, Export As. Now in the Export As box that appears, make sure your format is set to PNG. And if we come over to the left-hand side here, you can see that the image preview shows you the export size in megabytes. So if file size is a concern for you, there are a few options here you can use to reduce it. As this is one flat image, we're not going to need to worry about the transparency option because the entire image is filled, so we can check that off. So if we're happy with the file size and we want to keep the image size as it is, we can leave this section here. Under metadata, you can decide whether to not attach any metadata or attach your copyright and contact info. Again, this is going to be dependent on where you've sourced this image from and whether you've added this data yourself to the image. So I can leave this as none. And then color space, again, this is down to intent. So if this image is going to go on the web, converted to sRGB is a good option. sRGB is now the standard color display mode for web images. However, if you do have a specific color profile you'd like, this is probably then going to be more relevant to print. You can embed the color profile used, but I'm going to set this to convert to sRGB. I want this to go on the web, and from there you can simply go ahead and press export. Now, if file size is of a concern to you, there are a couple of techniques we can try. So if we switch to 2up, this will now show me the preview of the export PNG and the original before we made any changes. So as you can see as well, this is showing you the size and the file size. So we can use this as a reference and see how much we can reduce the file size, but also keep the quality as close to the original as possible. So first off, we can try compressing the image by selecting smaller file size. This will compress it to an 8-bit image. So you can see this drastically reduces file size, almost halves it, and we can also play around with the image size. So if we're not precious about it, we could reduce the image size. So for example, we could bring, say, the width down to 3000, and if we just tab to select down to the height, this will then resize in proportion. And finally, when changing image size, something to be conscious of is resampling. So resampling is the adding or removing of pixels within the image when you change the image size. So naturally, Photoshop needs to add or remove pixels of certain colors. So you can change the resampling to make the image look a certain way. So for example, if you want the image to look a little sharper, you can change to bicubic sharper. If you want the image to look more seamless, you can try smoother. Nearest neighbor will add colored pixels as close to the original colors as possible. So you don't need to be too precious about this, but there are some options here you can play around with. But if you don't want to get too much into that, you can just leave this on automatic. So once you're happy with your PNG export options, let's come down, press export. Let's set to save locations. I'm going to put mine in my images folder. So I've got my sample_dog JPEG here. So I'm just going to call this the same, sample_dog.png. Let's click save. And finally, let's just double check our export. So if I come to my images folder, so there's my original JPEG. And then if I click down, there's my exported PNG with my compression options added. And there you have it. It really is that simple to convert any JPEG to PNG in Photoshop. I really hope you found this tutorial helpful, and if you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, keep on designing, and I'll see you for the next tutorial.